ARGs, or augmented reality games, are some of the most creative forms of storytelling with the introduction of the internet. Using multiple aspects of the internet and the game itself to blur itself into the real world to tell a story is genuinely mind-boggling to someone who first experiences it. I Love Bees is one of the first ARGs I think of, coming from Bungie. It started out as a hidden message in the Halo 2 trailer that would lead to a website that would lead to a rabbit hole detailing an artificial intelligence that lands on Earth and hacked the website as a result. What made it immersive was that the website actually looked like it was hacked by an artificial intelligence. There were puzzles that had to be solved, and players were rewarded with audio logs detailing possibly or possibly not bits of Halo lore, because it's debated whether it's canon or not. They went above and beyond for this though, having the website owner say that the website was hacked and having people go to payphones around the world in order to answer questions to solve the ARG. Images and code had to be deciphered, and it's probably one of the best examples I can think of when it comes to an ARG. I at least hope that gives you an explanation of what it is. It's essentially a game of pretend that uses the real world as its playing grounds in a sense. This is where we can transition into the video game ARGs that have popped out over the decades. Games that have been hacked, haunted, things start happening with no explanation that's made it feel like it's actually real. And what does that remind you of? 3, 2, 1, creepypastas. Creepypastas and ARGs go hand in hand pretty often with the stories they're attempting to tell. Spooky, scary, and something that makes you think it's actually real. Ben Drown is one of the first I think about when it comes to creepypastas, but it's actually an ARG. The first part of the ARG is the creepypasta segment, where a dude collects a haunted game cartridge and documents it on the forum. This forum actually exists with the exact post, and it was made to pretend like this cartridge that had a spirit in it was real. Also, this creepypasta scared the hell out of me. One of the plot points in the ARG is that if you download a video or image of Ben Drown, it would infect your computer and spread to the internet, so I'm only showing a screenshot of the forum that I took. Some creepypastas related to ARGs are stuff like Slenderman. I'm using Marble Hornets for this because it's an ARG with videos being used to act like these events happen in real life. I hope by saying all this you understand the rules and mechanics that go into an ARG, and a creepy one at that. When it comes to really good ARGs, the best ones utilize knowledge that's specifically for the media is trying to create a story upon. If your ARG is on a website, then use some special code to hide secrets, and for video games, use the knowledge and the rules of the game to either hide secrets or to trick us. Think of Doki Doki. When you're playing a visual novel, you understand the rules of it. Click text, illustrations here and there, yeah. But the game uses that as a way to trick you. You have expectations when you play a visual novel in terms of how it presents itself. You don't expect something like a character being on top of a text box, so when it happens, it feels eerie. And this level of using what you know or expect against you is where we can transition to Minecraft. Minecraft is a game that almost everyone has played, so there are some universal things we all expect from it. We expect villages, we expect mountains, we expect large man-made holes that were not made by us. Wait a second. A big creepy factor that was commonly used for Minecraft was the single player aspect. Minecraft was a multiplayer game, but you could also play it single player, where no one's there but yourself. Back in the 2010s, the easiest way you could scare someone is convince them that they are not alone in their world, that there's something else with them. The concept itself is already uneasy. Like I said, setting expectations. When you play single player, you are not expecting to have something else be with you, so it makes it creepier. Creepypastas during this time did the whole, oh, spooky entity in my world, it started messing with me and I don't know, it killed my friend. And for the time it worked, for me at least. But in the 2020s, there would be a shift in the way people use Minecraft to express horror, and that was ARGs. New Minecraft horror stories would now be told in the ARG format, with random YouTube videos leading to other videos leading to code and images that would eventually tell a story. Now, if the story was actually good or not depends, but the mystery was there. And let's actually go down the stereotypical Minecraft ARG list because, oh my god, I want to talk about these for a while. All of them have things in common. Now, some are better than others about this, and we'll get to that, but starting off, 1. The series must be in the old version of Minecraft because early Minecraft is spooky. 2. The quality has to be dog shit because early Minecraft is spooky. 3. The person in the video cannot talk and can only use text because it's like early YouTube, and also because early Minecraft is spooky. Oh my fucking god. Okay, yeah, a lot of these follow the same formula, and admittedly, a lot of them are ass, but there are some that use the ARG structure as a way to tell like an actual story. One that uses your expectations of what a typical Minecraft ARG would be like and subverting it, but not in a ha, got you type of way, but more so an emotional got you, like something you didn't know you needed. But we gotta actually talk about the ARGs before we can make a full conclusion. One of the biggest issues a lot of Minecraft ARGs suffer from is the storytelling, and it mostly comes down to the FNAF/backrooms problem, which I made up just now. It's essentially the problem of over-explaining something. Something stalking me in Minecraft? Well, actually, it's a science experiment that is built by a secret government, and they're watching over us, and all the aura and intrigue is gone as you over-explain the details. Now, some of these ARGs aren't necessarily horror, but either way, the storytelling is because they still retain the formula for a horror ARG, which is no speaking and the quality is ass, or another aspect I forgot to mention, the protagonist is stupid. Now, obviously, don't go hating on them and the like, it's not that serious. And as more of these ARGs become more popular, there's gonna be kids trying to replicate it, and they're most likely gonna suck. Exhibit A, me. Now let's actually talk about some of these ARGs, and I'm gonna be starting with ARGs I don't fully enjoy, and move our way towards ARGs that are a lot more better in my opinion. Now, most of the ARGs I'm talking about have been analyzed by people before, and keep that bullet point in your head for later. I'm gonna be splitting the ARGs I cover into categories, and spoiler alert for this category, it's my least favorite. Starting with Johngamelover, analyzed by Retro Gaming Now. Johngamelover is a channel that revolves around a set of old Minecraft videos detailing a player as he discovers weird portals in this world. These teleport him across different worlds and versions of Alpha Minecraft, including versions that shouldn't exist. Firstly, let's start with some positives. One of the most consistent variables that are present in almost every Minecraft ARG is the eerie vibe. You can't really fuck this up because even in present Minecraft it's a bit eerie, but not enough to make you go, oh shiver me timbers. But now that we have the context that something is wrong, it has us on edge. Even just watching the raw footage is a bit scary because you don't know if you're gonna get atmospheric horror or just a jump scare, and it's just Reddit 50/50 all over again. While horror does play a part in this ARG, it's mainly more mystery/story based, and it's here where I start diving into some problems a lot of ARGs fall into when they're being created. Creating a story is one thing, but presenting it is another thing entirely, and it can ruin the immersion immediately if not done well. Some of the storytelling here cuts me out of it, and it's always at the middle chunk. The premise is always done well because it's simple and gets you thinking. This person is finding portals that teleport him across Minecraft, including worlds that are linked, which shouldn't be possible. Along with that, he begins being haunted or stalked by a player with traces of dropped items that shouldn't be possible. But as the story keeps going along, the cracks start to form once the narrative tries explaining the portals and the entity. Now this is subjective for a lot of people, but I do not like when an interesting premise is suddenly shifted to a science fiction story because it has more lore to talk about. It feels like a cop-out in my opinion when you need to expand your story. I'm using Johngamelover as the sole example of this because compared to other examples, I don't think it's the worst of its kind, but it still suffers from trying to over-explain aspects. Exposition is a very dangerous tool and needs to be used carefully. I remember reading the description of Very Beautiful Generation of Mountains in Minecraft.avi, where the description talks about the world generation and how the generation is so beautiful and not like the extremely dark experiences that my friend had to experience. Are you fucking serious? Cutting the immersion for a second and ignoring the fact that in story, the kid's the one writing descriptions, this is still heavily on the nose and it's not the only case where the lore is shoved in your face. We get a big revelation in the middle of the series where someone starts talking to John, the player. He introduces himself as Illusion and states he's in between the administrative space. Now you might be wondering, what is the administrative space? Well, don't worry, just a few episodes later, John goes visiting and stumbles upon the administrative space where it's a bunch of doors that can instantly transport you to different worlds and versions, and later on we discovered there were beta testers that suffered from the teleportations, and yeah, you start to check out. Once they started documenting the science experiments, it instantly cuts me out of the immersion. When you start trying to logically explain certain aspects, especially in an ARG that's meant to take place in real life, you suffer the problem of slowly removing the immersion and the flavor. Disregarding the fact that I know it's fake, it's still really uninteresting to me when you go this route. If this was just a Minecraft story, it's fine, I suppose, but the moment you try to paint this as something that's happening in real life, I check out. Like, bro, this is Minecraft. I know I'm supposed to like alleviate some of my logical thinking to enjoy this, but like, I have a limit. There's so many plot holes you can pick apart, and some may say don't think about too hard, but the series is making me think about too hard by focusing on it. There's a ton of possibilities you can go for a premise like this, and going down the logical route where you just make up terms and new scientific technology to keep the story going isn't something I'm entirely looking for in an ARG. This is the first genre of Minecraft ARGs I like to call the science fiction route. In this route, any interesting premise is explained by a government project or a research program for you being the test subjects or something like that. All aspects of the premise are explained, and it can lead to two results. One where the story loses all of its flavor because everything is explained, or two, one where the story takes front point and uses the fact that you know what's really going on in order to create a whole new story. There's this one ARG that has the premise of a time loop, and it raises questions on how a time loop works in Minecraft when a player is outside the real world playing it. But the series doesn't take place or act like it's in real life, and so it just focuses on the story, where a government project accidentally lets one of its test subjects free, and it starts a bunch of events where they dive into different simulations and time loops. Either go all in or don't do it at all is my perspective on it, and I really do enjoy this time loop series. Go watch the analysis video by Kunai. And if you enjoy this level of storytelling, that's completely fine. Some people ease their fear by having everything explained to them, and I was the same way too when I was younger. But as I've grown older, I started liking the ambiguity of certain things, and that leads us to the second category of ARGs, the supernatural route. Don't record while you're sick, my voice is dying. Let's start with Simon 12, analyzed by Render, and keep that name in your mind for later. Simon 12 focuses on the old Minecraft channel in which Simon and his friend Angelo summon an entity that, let's just say, ruins their lives. This entity, which Render refers to as Herobrine's brother, kidnaps Angelo, disguises as him, and begins to stalk Simon in a multitude of videos that include both in-game and real life. This ARG consists of more than one channel, but I want to focus on the first one because of how amazingly done it is. It relies heavily on the fear of the unknown, and it actually takes place in somewhat modern Minecraft. If you're expecting the entity to be scientifically explained, then no. This is someone that exists, is inside Simon's single-player world, and has kidnapped his friend. Good luck, Simon. There are some genuinely creepy moments in this series that I actually do not want to spoil, but I will say a ton of positives for this. Firstly, it's not science fiction, so I'm already invested, but because it isn't leaning on science fiction, it allows for the immersion to be that much more. Simon is a kid dealing with a monster that's haunting him, and the way he records and talks makes me so happy. He types in notepads, and in Minecraft he types out messages, but doesn't press enter because he knows the monster is inside the game and stalking him, so he deletes the message after we see it. We see Herobrine's brother slowly learn Simon how to manipulate him, including playing Simon Says on him. Like other Minecraft ARGs, it thrives off the fear of the unknown, but continues that vibe the entire way way through. Sounds that play randomly, the fog making you think you saw something, and sometimes something is there. There's a lot of great continuity in this with certain scenes and structures, and you can tell a lot of effort was placed in this ARG to make sure everything fits together. Render's narration and structure of the video also makes the immersion even better. One of the most horrifying realizations is when the alternate Herobrine makes an appearance in Simon's base under Simon's bed with a glowstone acting as a lamp. When the Simon says signs start popping up, one of them says, "My base is my bedroom." And it's heavily implied that if Simon's base in-game is based off his actual bedroom, that means the alternate Herobrine was under Simon's actual bed, and that's some of the most scariest shit ever. We don't know this monster and how its rules work. He's captured someone, so can its presence reach outside the world of Minecraft? It's questions that keep us intrigued but also scared. If the person in the series is doing shit like deleting messages so the monster doesn't see it, then it only reaffirms the immersion that this is happening in real life. Going back to Ben drowned, obviously it's fake. But when the story dives into how the narrator begins seeing Ben drown in real life and the faint images of his eye and how detailed it gets, it makes you think, oh shit, is this real? The best thing an ARG can do is set up rules and have you lock between them, because the moment you expand beyond it, you're like, wait, hold up, doesn't make sense. You can ask questions that don't really matter, like, why doesn't Simon just go find Angelo in real life? But we don't know the extent of the monster's power. Could it be a FNAF into the pit situation? What if Simon and Angelo don't live close by? The ARG purposely doesn't answer these questions because that's the fun of it. And I'm gonna be spoiling the ending of the first part of the Simon 12 ARG because it shows how amazing an ARG gets when it allows itself to create its own rules. After Simon defeats the Ender Dragon and frees Angelo, he puts the wool that he killed the Ender Dragon into the recycle bin, trapping Herobrines forever. Simon and Angelo reconnect for the first time in a long while, but things get a little weird. Angelo doesn't seem to remember certain things like giving Simon the lamp for his base. And it's here where Simon makes a horrifying realization that this Angelo he's talking to isn't him, and it's the monster that's still alive. In response, Simon goes to his recycle bin and restores the Ender Dragon mold in an attempt to go back and save Angelo. The one thing that saves this series a lot in my opinion is that there aren't any of those fake descriptions that try to add more unnecessary lore. We get a few bits of ARG implementation where the captions provide links to other videos that can be interpreted as trying to dodge the monster. The monster gets smarter in the series and begins imitating Angelo, so Simon comes up with techniques to avoid him potentially going outside the Minecraft world. And that's just one interpretation of the story. There are other parts that go into the story more, and admittedly it gets a bit out there, but the first part is enjoyable on its own. I hope you see why I like this ARG and how the premise can really keep you engaged. Having a premise that goes supernatural and having the ARG adapt to the supernatural rather than try to explain it logically is my weak point for storytelling. It makes you, the viewer, excuse certain things that don't logically make sense because what's happening right now isn't logical and it isn't going to be explained logically, so you just have to roll with it, just like what Simon's done. Simon's not the only one who rolls with it, as we see with another channel that they've encountered something in their own world, and the outcome is very unique. And it begins to paint a new side to ARG storytelling. But what do I mean? Well, let's talk about OmenConcrete, analyzed by Render. Again. The premise of OmenConcrete is of a young kid who documents his findings on the unknown entity that is haunting his world. The entire channel is dedicated to this purpose, and the immersion already starts here with the owner clearly detailing that something is wrong, and he's recording it to archive it here. Obviously, he's in single player, so it's spooky, but again, the usual positive aspects of an ARG are present here. Things that aren't supposed to happen, such as hearing sounds that aren't in the game files or random holes popping around. At certain points, we get a glimpse of the thing that's supposedly haunting him, and holy fuck, what is that? I love scenes where it's a blink and you'll miss it moment, and OmenConcrete probably doesn't notice it as well. The ARG does take a turn at storytelling that I really appreciate. While exploring, he finds large square man-made holes with mob remains scattered around. He then catches a glimpse of the creature, and like a normal human being, he actually records it and uploads it to YouTube for his friend to see. Understandably, his friend is like, bro, it doesn't exist, it was probably a creeper. But Omen knows it's something else. I love the immersion that the player's a little kid and he acts like one. He documents events in his notepad like a detective, he names the unknown creature D-Base, and treats the whole thing like it's a game because he thinks it's one. But as the series continues along, Omen realizes this creature is actually alive. Its clues are placed throughout the ARG, with Render analyzing it perfectly. This creature, D-Base, as Omen calls it, has a history of being hungry throughout the series. From mob remains and large holes they made, to kidnapping Omen's dog, and breaking the Omen's house and conspicuously only taking the food. We get an actual good look of D-Base when Omen jumps to a hole he made, and take a good look at this creature. This is something that is not meant to exist. And Render takes note how D-Base has never directly attacked Omen in any way. He's just been stalking him, and even when they encounter each other, D-Base suddenly teleports away like he's scared. Omen considers the possibility that one of his friends played a prank on him and hacked his computer, because he's still thinking about this logically. He saw something that shouldn't exist, so he's believing any other reason besides the one in front of him, that this is a real creature. In fact, he's so determined not to believe this, that he goes the scientific method and recreates the weird things that happen in his world to simulate D-Base, but nothing happens. The realization that occurs at the end of the video indicates to both us and Omen that what happened in his world was real, not a mod, that that world he's in is haunted. Going down the video tiles and seeing how invested Omen gets into uncovering the mystery is so much fun. The hunt for D-Base is my favorite one, as it has Omen recount the events of the previous videos and analyzing how D-Base works. He sets a trap for D-Base, knowing that he's hungry, and it's a really nice reward for watching the other videos and gathering the background information. Unfortunately, he fails because D-Base is Sonic the Hedgehog, and as he wanders around aimlessly without food, and he says it out loud in chat, he then says fuck it and plans to just blow up the holes that D-Base has used to travel. But right when he's about to do it, the door behind him opens, revealing steak that's been mysteriously dropped. Just a few moments ago, he types in chat that he needs food. Why'd he do that? I don't know, he's a kid. I used to do that kind of stuff too, so I can excuse it for the sake of immersion. But this event reveals that D-Base can read chat, and that he is in the game, as he answers Omen's call for food. In response, Omen removes the TNT and goes to apologize to his friend for insisting they hacked his computer. It's here where his friend questions why D-Base bothers him so much that he's going this far to find them. He hasn't explicitly done anything aggressive besides chill. It was when Omen decided to initiate getting closer that both parties started doing actions toward the other, such as D-Base taking Omen's dog and Omen setting up traps. This statement makes Omen think about everything and realize that he's been thinking about the situation wrong. In the final video, Omen makes a written apology for D-Base and sends it down his hole, leading to Omen's dog being returned and a message saying thank you appearing in the chat. Omen then tabs off Minecraft and deletes the corrupted world he's been playing on, leading to the passing of D-Base. My favorite aspect of this is how grounded it is. Omen tries to search for information on the mob, but doesn't get anything, so he turns to blaming his friend because that's the only reason this could happen, right? He plays detective to solve the case and ultimately realizes that this creature was never meant to exist. And so he peacefully kills D-Base, who also probably wants to die because if I was a clusterfuck due to a glitch, I'd also want to pass. But you're starting to see what I see, right? Stories that take advantage of the ARG premise and are good stories in their own right. If you're gonna paint something as happening in real life, this is the way to do it. There are details here and there that excuse certain aspects of the story, like why doesn't he just go into creative mode and find D-Base? Well, he's a kid. He's probably stupid, and we can tell from the way he chats that he knows this isn't happening in real life. It's still part of the game. It could be a mod, but he knows that it isn't gonna jump out and kill him in real life or something, so he still acts immersed in the game, which in turn makes us immersed. It's just a solid ARG in general. It's short too, so thank god D-Base didn't turn out to be a government-based project that was injecting the select version of Minecraft. I'm sorry. And that's it for the second category of ARGs I like to call the supernatural route. Something supernatural occurs that shouldn't, and it's taken completely at face value. The origin is unknown, but it's there, and it's up to the series to dictate what happens because of this unnatural event. There's a lot of freedom with going this route, and as you saw with D-Base, sometimes the route isn't necessarily horror at a second glance. This level of twisting our expectations for something horror-related leads to a new concept where, okay, how about we make it look scary, but actually it isn't. We've just been looking at it wrong. This leads to the third category of ARGs I like to call the representation route, and you'll see what I mean when we move on to Alexspeaks, analyzed by, you guessed it, Render. The story of Alexspeaks focuses on a channel made by a kid who's using it to vent. Hey, me too, man. His first video is just him typing in chat about how he moved and how he misses his friends, and that even though he can still talk to them online, it isn't the same. He says, they might as well be dead or something, and interprets moving away as the world ending due to an apocalypse, and all your friends are dead anyway. Damn, this kid's depressed. The title of the video is literally, I miss how it used to be. The series gets interesting though when Find Nula or Matthew appears, who becomes Alex's new friend. They seem pretty chill, they get along well, until you know some weird oddities such as them replying for Alex in a secret Google Drive link where Alex stares at Matthew wishing he could turn back time. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna suspend my belief, just see what happens. Anyway, as we continue through the series, more oddities start appearing with the way Matthew is portrayed. The items he drops seem to disappear, a lot of things he typed in chat seem to be something Alex would say, or what he's gonna say. Alex talks about how people say the new school he's going to will be nice since he moved, and when asking if anyone at Matthew's school picks on him, Matthew replies, like, my name Nula? Alex then types, like, people just... and then Matthew randomly types, this school sucks. It seems out of place, but if you read it as if Alex is the one who typed all of it, it makes sense. It just feels bizarre. What's even more bizarre, however, is Matthew randomly disappearing at points. And I'm not saying Matthew himself, I'm saying the things he does. Dropping blocks, placing blocks, all of them start disappearing alongside Matthew, making you wonder, does Matthew exist? If any of you are familiar with this kind of story, then you probably know what's happening right now, or being represented. But let's keep going. Alex and Matthew soon set up a base to protect themselves, and weirdly, all the blocks Matthew breaks suddenly gets patched up, like they were never broken to begin with. Alex is understandably like, what the fuck, bro, and gets pissed off at Matthew, comparing him to his old friends who did nothing and got mad at him for any tiny thing. Matthew then randomly asks, why did you stop talking to them? They didn't even know you were moving, and it seems like your friends didn't even know what to say. You pushed your friends away every time they were worried. That's not nothing. That's fear. The next few videos introduce Donnie Dark, a new friend of Alex. They hang out with Matthew being invisible, occasionally giving Alex tips for hanging out with Donnie, such as telling him to talk more or be more friendly. I'd appreciate a wingman, but it is kinda creepy that Matthew's acting like a ghost right now. Adding on to it, Alex reveals that Donnie acts to record as well. And when we watch Donnie's video, the scenes where Matthew is present in Alex's footage, he is not in Donnie's footage. Now, 90% of you probably know what's going on, but please give me one more minute to finish the story. As Alex and Donnie hang out more, Alex begins struggling with his past, talking to Matthew and saying how he can't wake up from all of this. Eventually though, he's able to find some resolution as he begins getting close to Donnie, and in the final episode says goodbye to Matthew, saying he can be better this time. And as he places the message, Matthew disappears behind him, and as Alex leaves his base, he notices gear that's been dropped. The same exact gear that Matthew had during the time they played together. In fact, the position of the dropped gear is the exact position he dropped in the previous episode when he gave it to Matthew, indicating that Matthew didn't exist. Everything Matthew did and said, it wasn't real, or it was Alex's head speaking for him. Sorry for beating around the bush with that revelation, but god, I love this ARG. It's a bit on the nose with certain aspects, but you understand why it's called the representation route. It's heavily implied with the last message Alex writes in the beginning of the series with the heavy wordplay and death that Matthew is one of Alex's old friends they left when he moved. Now, I debate in my head whether Matthew passed away or not, but it does make sense if Matthew's dead. Matthew serves as a representation of Alex's guilt, his regret to say goodbye to his friends as he moved away, and there's a lot more details in the ARG that support this. Alex doesn't want to go back to his old world because of the memories he associates it with. For a majority of the time, Alex isn't playing with anyone, he's playing with himself. It's not until Donnie arrives that Alex begins to let go and move on from his past. Alex compares moving away to dreaming and waking up, feeling like he's between two worlds, and the ARG highlights that by showing us scenes depicting that, like with this creepy scene. I also love how the ARG uses multiple channels to showcase the perspectives. Donnie's channel shows the side of the footage, and you can clearly see how unstable Alex is. When Alex drops his gear to Matthew, it looks normal. To Donnie though, he just dropped that shit in the middle of nowhere and it's fucking hilarious. When he begins venting to Matthew in the dark void, he actually types in chat with Donnie understandably being like, what the fuck? You could convince me like this kid's like schizophrenic or something and I believe in the heartbeat. This is the representation route, one where the ARG is centered around a story that both depicts real scenes that happen in real life and also scenes that are supposed to represent something, such as something mental or emotional. Logically, we aren't supposed to see Matthew because he doesn't exist, but the videos we're seeing are represented in the form of Alex's perspective, in which he does exist. The same thing goes with the black void scenes. These technically do happen, as we see from Donnie's footage, but the visuals from Alex's mind. It's like we're seeing it from the perspective of Alex's head and not the actual recording file of the gameplay itself. If this were real life, like it was actually in Alex's head and the ARG didn't exist and he actually uploaded the raw recording file to YouTube, then Matthew would not exist and the entire series would just be him typing to himself. And we see a glimpse of that with Donnie's footage. It's that attention to detail I absolutely love. I excluded so many things, so go watch Render's video or the ARG itself, but this form of storytelling allows me to both get immersed even when it does stuff that logically shouldn't make sense if it were taking place in real life. We're seeing the series from Alex's mind, so Matthew and the stuff he does doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It's just a representation of Alex's thought and guilt. So the things we see aren't actually happening in real life. So I don't need to pull the whole Matthew was actually a secret government project injected into certain Minecraft games that would conjure players' guilt in order to— I'm sorry. Now, before we move on, you may have noticed that I include the people analyzing the ARGs for this video. Now, it's not because I'm lazy and didn't watch the ARG, I mean, what? It's just I have one secret to reveal. These ARGs are fake. Well, no shit is what you're probably thinking, but no. They're made up. They were created with the sole purpose of being put into an analysis video, and this is gonna give it mindfucky, so stay with me here. Render is responsible for most of the analysis videos I talked about here, and it was revealed a while ago that he fakes his videos. He creates the ARGs for himself to analyze, and firstly, is that a bad thing? No. In fact, I'm gonna give him some praise. That's like committing a crime and then being the detective to solve the crime. But being real for a second, my respect for Render went up so much knowing he both creates the ARG and analyzes it. It takes a lot of work to create an ARG, to record the footage, to plant the clues, and to storyboard the entire series from start to finish. You need to purposely leave clues that you're gonna pretend to pick up in your inevitable analysis video, and it makes for a really interesting challenge where you have to pretend you don't know anything about the series while you know the exact true meaning of every event. It's so interesting having the analyzer of an ARG video be the ARG creator themselves, and it brings up a ton of questions. Firstly, how do you structure that? Render, if you're watching this, please DM me, I'm so curious. And secondly, it brings up a very unique question. What if the analysis video of an ARG was actually part— Huh, that was weird. Let's talk about Ben 2FR, analyzed by Zeemyth. Now, before we start, I'm gonna need to put a huge spoiler warning here. If you're even slightly curious with what this ARG is about, and you heard what I said before I got cut off, you need to stop this video right now and watch it. Any words I say will not do it justice, and I don't want to spoil those special moments for you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. As the series starts, we immediately know something's off. The visuals are overly saturated, and being frank, it hurts my fucking eyes. The first video focuses on Ben, who's this paranoid dude talking about something haunting him and going on tangents on random feelings we do not have a clue on what they're about. Ben is being haunted by something, and we can see it in the small details such as torches being rearranged, structures randomly appear, and it's clear something is out and about. The small scenes we get depict this something is creepy as hell, and it's smart. It adapts to the actions that Ben takes, and Ben states that things are changing, and I'm scared. We get a sudden flashback in one of the videos where we encounter a weird house, and a new player known as Archie T. In this flashback, another person known as L is mentioned, and it appears all three have a history of this structure, which appears to be a house. After talking for a bit, we cut back to the present, where Archie cotobombed Ben, asking what's up and why he's been gone, such as missing school tests and the party. Ben then randomly mentions that L never moved to Cumberland, with Archie being confused. Apparently L moved, or that was the story everyone was told, but Ben seems to know more. There seems to be something holding Ben back, with the description of the video talking about how it's been a year and how he's been trying to move on. Combined with the message of how he's scared of change, it seems something serious happened to cause an event like this. Cutting to the 6th video, we get an IRL one, where Ben finds the house that was present a few videos ago. Supposedly this is L's house, and it definitely isn't being used anymore. The fact is now an IRL video being incorporated into his Minecraft ARG raises so many questions, but let's see how they handle this. It's a short one, with him just wandering around until the video cuts to a notebook saying we couldn't save them, with Ben removing the we and replacing it with I. Now you can make some guesses already on what happened, but let's look at the next video to truly understand what he meant by this. The 7th video starts in a labyrinth, where we finally meet L, who helps Ben navigate this maze. There are 2 rules that L tells Ben: don't talk and don't turn left, and for the majority of the video, both abide by it. That is, until Ben breaks the rule of talking and L breaks the rule of turning left, and as Ben asks what the hell they're doing here, L suddenly vanishes. Cutting to the present, Archie starts pushing Ben for answers. Why did L leave? They were closer to him than Archie was, so why isn't he saying anything? Archie talks to Ben about how he's been getting into philosophy ever since L left, and how he's had to deal with it. Ben asks Archie that if he could change anything given the scenario and aftermath, would he do so? Archie then replies by saying, maybe once, but we don't make the changes. The changes make us. Archie and Ben are soon followed by the entity, known as the Raven, and oh my god. In an attempt to escape, they run into the only direction they can, leading them to the exact labyrinth that L disappeared in. Now, for this last video, we need to go fully into the perspective of Zeemyth's video. Ben gives Archie the rules from last time, adding one more involving torches. Archie wants to know why he's doing all of this, in a game of all things, acknowledging this is fucking Minecraft they're playing right now. In this ensuing conversation, we learn what really happened to L. Archie explains that L was already in the bad place and that wasn't Ben's fault, with Ben explaining that Archie wasn't there when it happened. Then Archie says, never did you. Then something strange happens. The video cuts to a book with Ben asking Archie to answer something honestly. But when we cut to Archie, it turns out to be Ben that we're looking at, indicating that somehow we just shifted to the perspective of Archie. Archie isn't sure how to answer the question, given how mysterious Ben's been. He's angry. He's been left alone to deal with L's death, with Ben isolating himself, and it's just been him all alone. The question that Ben asks Archie goes, it's midnight in a raging thunderstorm. You have nothing. No trees, zilch. Just an empty field. What would you do? Something strange then happens in the video as well. For the entire video, Zeemyth has been acting in the third person, using people's names such as Ben, Archie, and he and they, but when we shift to Archie's perspective, he starts using something else.
Of what Archie thinks about L? Is it some way for Ben to read into Archie? Everything you could have wrote at the bottom of that damn hellscape and you wrote, what would you do? What would you do? I don't know what I'd do. I haven't known what to do since this all happened. We lost L and you just kept running away. Running away and I had to follow you, pick up your pieces, help you stop, and take a breath for once. I'm sorry I didn't... I've just never been able to figure out what this question means. And then he apologizes. We were fighting not 5 minutes prior and he just says sorry. This just always means a lot to me. It was the last thing he said. I keep coming back. This was some time ago, but I go back and watch these here and there. It's nice to know that each time I find something that I missed. Something that helps me understand what he was going through or what even happened. That's why I made this video this time. It's a different approach, you know? Changes happen and we change. And also, I just found a video of L asking Ben the same question he asked me. What do you do? I don't have the part where Ben answers anymore, but I couldn't forget it if I tried. He answered, I dance.
When I watched this for the first time, something in my brain changed. Every part of my brain was so confused, so bewildered that I didn't know what to think. The moment he used I was like, huh, what is going on? I don't even know where to start, but let's screw it. Let's start with the story. This story is clearly about 3 friends with one of them dying, with it heavily being implied by their own means. Archie and Ben deal with the loss in their own way, with Archie moving on, but Ben letting the guilt consume him. Over the course of the entire series, we see how Ben slowly learns to accept the loss of Elle, with Archie representing the contrast and direction. Archie accepted it when it happened. He didn't let it get to him. They couldn't do anything else. But Ben accepts it in a different way. When Archie is asked the question of what would you do if you were in a raging thunderstorm with nothing, Archie doesn't know how to answer it, but Ben does. When Archie says that we don't make the changes make us, it represents Archie and Ben's characters. Archie made the change to leave, to accept the loss of Elle, while Ben had the change make him. The changes filled him with guilt, and it manifested in the visuals we've been seeing the entire series. One thing I neglected was the scene with Elle. Now I'm not sure of the general consensus of how this scene is interpreted, but I interpreted it as a trust challenge for Ben. Elle was depressed and on the edge, and you may have wondered why they didn't just go to someone to get help. Well, we have one possible answer here. When Elle gives the rules to Ben, it can be interpreted as a trust challenge. Can Elle trust Ben with expressing themselves and their thoughts? Well, Ben breaks those rules and Elle determines that they can't trust Ben, so they leave. The same thing happens in the final video. Archie breaks the rules and so Ben leaves. It's a cycle. Ben never moved on, and it consumed him to the point he also left. But he left in his own way. I dance is the last response that Ben gives to the question of the raging thunderstorm. And what exactly does that question mean? Well, I interpreted it as, if death is approaching you and you can literally do nothing against it, what would you do? And obviously Archie wouldn't know how to answer that, but Ben does. Throughout this entire ARG, we've seen how Ben slowly handles the loss, and so he says he'd dance. He'd accept it as it is. The icing on the cake is that on Zeemyth's video, the start of the description reads, "We will, one day," implying that Archie will dance with Ben as well, one day. This ARG is something I still don't have words for. I have so many questions. What parts are representations and what parts are real? The fact the analysis video is real means that what we're seeing was created, but is it actually real? Did it happen? Was it recreated? Is what Ben actually saw real or a representation of what he saw? Archie comments on it, so it has to be real, right? Logically, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Maybe the reason why there's so much heavy filter in the videos is maybe because this isn't Minecraft. It's a representation of what happened in real life. I can't even use the comparison for the last ARG because it still had traces of reality in it. It doesn't make sense, and the part of me hates it because of that, but maybe it doesn't matter. As I've been recording this video, my thoughts on ARGs have changed in a lot of ways. It doesn't matter if the ARG and real life implementation aren't the best. ARGs are still stories at the end of the day. At the very least, interactable stories. There's so many different ways you can go about it, and each one has their own pros and cons. It's what makes ARGs interesting. Some keep you so immersed, some just want to tell a story, and some want you to feel something. Maybe I've been a bit too harsh on the rules of an ARG. Why limit to just one definition when it can mean so many different things, and in turn, express so many different things? Stories aren't just for pen and paper, and I'm glad in the centuries that have followed, we've been able to express our feelings and stories in ways that fit modern day. I love Minecraft ARGs, the good and the bad, and I hope with this video you understand why. A story in Minecraft is nothing new, but learning how to visualize and represent that story is another thing entirely. In fact, while it's impressive creating a story in Minecraft and piecing it in a narrative fashion, I'd say it's more impressive to create a story in Minecraft that uses existing footage. Confused? Let me explain. This is my friend I'm Just JR, and he's well known for creating highlights of his Minecraft gameplays disguised as narratively structured stories. All of his videos are recordings, raw footage, edited in a way to fit a narrative and to invoke emotion into the viewer. As I rewatched the ARGs for this video, I noticed similarities between the ARGs and JR's videos. The way certain events were structured, the way they were placed either purposely or accidentally made it interesting to note. The same game, but a different way of storytelling, with one opting to manually create each and every event, while one improvises given the footage. My friend JR has done numerous of these kinds of videos. Hours of recordings that he's able to look at, analyze, and twist it into a gripping story that keeps the audience engaged for the entire runtime. Similar to ARGs, both are intended to make the viewer feel an emotion, either be scared, intrigued, excited, or sad. The difference though is that JR has to play with the cards he has. ARGs and scripted stories get to choose the cards they personally want, while JR deals with the best with what he's got. It's created some of his best videos, and to have a better understanding of telling a story, either be scripted or unscripted, I made JR watch the ARGs himself and comment on it. In fact, a funny coincidence I found is that both JR and Render made SMP videos, so they both have a similar starting point. So, JR?
For ARGs, I feel most intend to tell an alternative story that they can create to invoke emotion, whether it's to give suspense or to give a looming sense of fear of what could happen in a viewer's experience. The ones that use Minecraft in specific use the game as a medium to give the experience that this could happen to anyone given enough material. They too can create this alternative reality. I would say for the most part, these ARGs successfully tell their messages and themes. Some may be simple and easy to learn, however, others can be very thought-provoking with open-ended questions. I believe these type of projects are the best as they can be very interesting and leave you wondering even after viewing the project, which to me leaves the best feeling as a viewer. For the ones that don't have the theme open-ended end up struggling with the same repeating settings. For example, you can have a horror-based Minecraft ARG, but you don't have to make it the focal point. Now, if we're talking Minecraft-driven stories similar to my own content compared to the ARG projects, there are surprisingly very few differences. The end goal with these kinds of videos is to invoke emotion from the viewers and make them invested to continue watching. Setting the mood is the most important part of the content that you're making, and the interesting thing about ARGs compared to videos similar to mine is the fact that some videos in my genre are unscripted, meaning however the recording goes, we have to deal with the outcome and create a story around them. With ARGs, unless they're covering a channel that's already existed, they have to make their projects from the ground up and are able to create the progression however they want. Both sides require more work in the sense of storytelling and execution. As a whole, it's incredible what kind of stories you can create within the game Minecraft, and it goes to show how unique this sandbox is. Sure, most people can pick Minecraft because it's the most popular game, but when you have the tools to create something special and leave viewers thinking, you can almost feel like you're directing a movie, or a documentary if you like those. Special shout out to those who can create an ARG outside of Minecraft. A good recommendation would be the story of Team Fortress 2's Strangest Player. It's a story created inside a first-person shooter that's been around longer than Minecraft. Whatever your idea may be, using the tools around you can lead to a very neat project you can look back on in the future and be proud of. I highly encourage anyone to create a story whether it be an ARG or not.
Well, I've said everything I want to about ARGs, and if I've covered anyone in this video that wants me to like trim them down or remove them sort of, just let me know, because I know that I'm technically making a video of like some people making analysis of an ARG, but at the same time, the analysis itself is part of ARG, so kind of my inception is, but like, if any of the people who create the videos like Retro Gaming Now or Render or Zeemyth want to contact me, be like, you know, you put too much of my video in there, could you cut it out slightly, then, you know, just let me know. It's a weird thing thinking about ARGs, but I love it so much. In fact, I think I've learned a few things from making this ARG video. Let's see if I can create my own. A mysterious channel known as Ballslover has started uploading old videos from the alpha version of Minecraft. The description of the channel says, "Just some old videos I totally recorded in the alpha version of Minecraft." If we look at the video list, we can see one video titled Run with massive quotes, indicating that the person who uploaded this video must have been in distress because of the word run, which is to indicate they're moving fast. But why? To catch up to a friend? For a race? Or maybe run away from something? Let's check the video out. Hey guys, welcome. Oh wait, no, I gotta. Shit, I sprinted. Oh.
Boo.
Ah! Ah! No! Hey, look at Stazzy.